So what's up, everybody? It is your boy Sweet. So I know everybody is having their take on the Charlie Kirk situation. I've seen some of the craziness with some of the comments of celebrating somebody's death and making fun of it and thinking it's hilarious and thinking, oh, he got what he was supposed to get, all these different things. And I'm just going to say it's disgusting. And I'm going to say this too. Besides the politics and the political construct and political views that everybody has, especially in this situation and this tragedy, whether it was Charlie Kirk that was the victim of this assassination or somebody just as polarizing or more polarizing even on the other side, us as Christians, us as humans should not be celebrating somebody's death. We shouldn't be making fun of it. We shouldn't be thinking it's funny or any of these things. It's just disgusting. So I just had to say that, and I had to put it out there. Whether you're on this side or that side, or you agree or disagree with Charlie Kirk, or you're in the middle, or you agree with some things and disagree with other, whatever it may be, I just had to say that it's pure disgusting. But this video is 3 takeaways that we could take from the legacy of Charlie Kirk. First one is just mobilizing the youth and building a movement. Right? He had such a heart and a passion for the youth, empowering them, making sure that they weren't fed lies and that they could think for their own and that they could do their research and be able to do these things and be important and know that they could make a change and make an impact, right? And that's the biggest thing, is seeing that vision and seeing it come alive and seeing the impact that he had. Like I said, this video is not about if you agree or disagree or certain things, or if he was empathetic, if he had empathy, any of that stuff. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about certain views that he might have had. But what we are talking about is the impact that he has made. You know, building a movement for the youth. That's something that pastors, politicians, schools, everybody is fighting for and yearning for, to be able to make that impact, build that movement, and see it flourish and see it go and see what it could do and see all these different things. And just to see it come alive with someone that was so passionate about it, and he worked hard at it, and he did stuff that nobody else was going to do, and he was in the forefront. He took the blunt of every attack, of every criticism, of every comment, of every discussion, every debate, so he could further that mission of building a movement for the youth. So number 2, he brought in this Christian ideology, not just to politics and the political landscape, but also just in the forefront of debate and conversation and the way of life and the way that we live and the way that we interact. His legacy forces a sharper definition of how our faith and identity intersect with political advocacy in America, especially among younger conservatives and just younger people. He pushed the idea that conservative activism isn't just about fiscal and regulatory issues, but also cultural and religious issues. Like I said, we're not talking about politics or anything like that, but his faith was always in the forefront of everything, whether it was talking about politics, whether it was talking about conservatism, talking about conservatives, whatever it may have been, maybe whether it's talking about the youth, whether it's talking about colleges, whatever it may have been, whether it's talking about family and the dynamic and all of that, it was always God first. It was always, what does the scriptures say, right? What does the scriptures say? And that was the main thing, is what does it say in scripture? What does God say about this? How do we go about this? How do we talk about this? How do we envision this, encompass this, and embody this and live it out day to day? And how do we put that message out? And how do we empower the youth with being in scripture, being in their Bible, and being like, know what, this is what God says. I'm going to stand on business. I'm going to stand on kingdom business. And the last one is, even though he was polarizing, controversial, and he had the tensions of influence, I'll add something to that. He was bold and unapologetic. He was bold and unapologetic. There's a lesson here about the costs and risks of political activism in a digital age. The lines between influence, provocation, probably butchered that word, sorry, truth, falsehood, and the responsibility are under sharp scrutiny about how many narratives get magnified once someone becomes influential, both the positive and negative claims. And that's the thing. We live in such an age, in the digital age, where if you ain't getting the facts and everything from an unbiased source, you're going to lean one way or another. You know, like I said, I ain't trying to be political. I ain't saying what side I'm on. But what I am saying is this, though, is that he had such an influence and a boldness about him and an unapologetic take on him, that he, no matter what you could say, no matter if you taking things out of context or taking things wrong, or maybe have a strong opinion on something because it really irks you inside and it really makes you cringe and it really gets you upset. The thing is this, that Christ was the center of everything that he spoke about. Everything that he talked about was centered around Christ, was centered around the scriptures. Like I said, did he at times maybe not react or interact or even go about things the right way? Maybe not. But if any of us were put in those situations where people are attacking you and saying heinous things and evil things to you, how are you going to react? I know I'm not anywhere near where I could be Christ-like to do that. I would try, and maybe I would succeed maybe at times, but I know I would fail, and I would probably not show anything Christ-like. My behavior, my actions, my words would probably be further from my faith and further from being Christ-like, and I would probably be an embarrassment, and people would probably be like, he just a fake. And I'm going to be real about that. But he had a boldness that he didn't care what people thought. You could have your opinion. You could say what you want. He could be, you could say whatever you want and do whatever you want, and he was unapologetic. And there was a podcast, I think it was the Iced Coffee podcast, and they asked him a question. What would you want your legacy to be? You know, if there's one thing, and he said that I stood bold on my faith, I stood unapologetic, I stood strong on my faith, that they know that I lived according to my faith. And that's the most important thing with this last one, is that boldness, that influence, and being unapologetic and standing on kingdom business when it comes to our faith. So these are the 3 takeaways that I could say that we could take from Charlie Kirk and his legacy. It's a sad time, it's a scary time, because you don't know if you could just speak freely and say the things that you want to say and be able to say your opinions, express your opinions without the fear of somebody physically harming you. And that's the sad part. But without further ado, I'm going to have to bid y'all adieu. If you have yet I ain't even gonna say that part. It's alright. But just know that we stand on kingdom business. I'm a sinner. I fail every single day. I just try to be the best version as I can and live as Christ-like as I can every single day. And until next time, you already know. Salute.